Hello, this is Elly Hiby. I'm the Scientific Coordinator for the ICAM Coalition, and in this presentation, myself and John Friar would like to explain to you ICAM's newest project, which is developing a system for street surveys, including both a mobile phone app and a web-based database. The International Companion Animal Management Coalition, or ICAM, is formed of several international animal welfare organisations and also international organisations focused on related subjects such as rabies and veterinary medicine. We were formed in 2006, and the purpose is to discuss companion animal management, to share our learnings, both successes and failures, and to learn from each other. And this has been a really rewarding experience for the members of the coalition. However, we were faced with a particular challenge. When we would describe different interventions in different contexts, we'd find that sometimes we had different definitions of the word working. So we would say that this intervention, this dog population management intervention, for example, is working really well over here, but not working so well over here. We had different definitions of that term working. So we didn't have this sort of shared definition of success or failure. So when it came to this challenge of monitoring and evaluating our impact, the challenge was we would be doing that in different ways. And when we look at other international organisations, such as the OIE, when they talk about dog population management in particular, they make it very clear that monitoring and evaluation is a very important aspect. So we recognised that monitoring and evaluation was necessary, but the question was, how do you actually do that? How do you implement that in practice? And it's from that need that we came up with the indicators project within ICAM. And the purpose of that was to develop some practical and meaningful guidance on how to do monitoring and evaluation of dog population management, of DPM. And that would allow us then to track our progress, to learn and subsequently improve the impact of our DPM through the use of measurable indicators. In essence, it would tell us how to do impact assessment and therefore be able to adaptively manage our interventions to make them more effective and more efficient in future. The final document was launched in 2015, and it provides both sort of theory and also practical guidance on how to do monitoring and evaluation of DPM interventions. One of the methodologies that it talks about is street surveys, and they're quite a fundamental method for when you're doing dog population management intervention monitoring. They provide data on both dog density and roaming dog welfare, and these indicators can be really useful for working out whether your DPM intervention is having the impact that you desired. The method is particularly simple and quick. We try to keep it as efficient as possible to ensure that people can then actually do regular monitoring rather than just do a survey maybe every 10 years or something. We want them to be able to feel like they can keep doing this monitoring on a regular basis, perhaps every 6 months or at least every year. One thing that the street survey that we talk about in this particular document doesn't do is it doesn't provide that in-depth assessment of your roaming dog population. So it's not able to provide a robust estimate of the total roaming dog population, or indeed the subpopulations of dogs within that roaming dog population. For example, the proportion of owned roaming dogs versus unowned. That requires a much more in-depth methodology that's not described in this particular document, because we were really trying to focus on monitoring and evaluation, keeping the methodology light and efficient so they could be done on a regular basis. Now, the challenge is that we talk about these street surveys as being a fundamental method for monitoring DPM intervention success, but the current smartphone apps that we have available are either sort of slightly inappropriate, or even if you can design them to be appropriate, setting them up can be quite time consuming and difficult. Now, you can, of course, use paper and record your data on an offline database, sort of like an Excel or an Microsoft Access database. That is possible, but that's quite time consuming to do as well. And so what we've been finding is that even though we think that these street surveys provide some really useful data on some really meaningful indicators, the implementation of street surveys across the world, across these different DPM interventions, is quite limited. And so what ICAM would like to do now is to start to create a survey system, a combination of both a smartphone app but also a web-based database that talk to each other. so that we can help people to actually implement these street surveys that we believe are really useful. So the objective of that survey system would be a tool for intuitive and also really efficient data collection during street surveys. The web-based database would provide some data storage, but also some analysis within the website itself, so you can see your data and be able to access it whenever you need to, but also see some basic analysis of that data and what that's telling you about your dog population. And we would provide some recommended data collection fields, so like a default survey layout for either dog or cat population interventions. But the idea is that we also provide a system that's quite flexible. So it allows the users to add their own fields. So maybe they don't want to use just the standard fields that we would recommend. Maybe there's something unique about their projects that demands that they add some specific indicators and want to record those on a regular basis when they are surveying the dog or cat populations in public places. Now, the outcomes, if we get this survey system working well, is that regular street surveys hopefully will become the norm for DPM interventions rather than the exception, which is what they are now. And once we have this basic dog density, roaming dog density and welfare indicators available, we hope that that would then encourage regular evaluation of interventions and therefore their adaptive management. And that hopefully would then result in more effective and efficient interventions because those changes have been made on a regular basis based on an objective evidence base. And we hope also that the ICAM and Wise Monkey website would become a focus for DPM implementers with an ambition for an evidence-based DPM. So it becomes a sort of home for those types of DPM implementers that are really interested in data collection and using an evidence base for their adaptive management. And there would therefore be a potential for communication between those DPM interventions using the app or using the website.
Hi, this is John Friar. I'm the founder of Wise Monkey Foundation, and I think it would be useful for me to start by just giving you a bit of a background as to what Wise Monkey is and why is it that I'm here giving this presentation and talking about a survey app. Now, the genesis of Wise Monkey happened in 2010 when I visited Bali to work with the Bali Animal Welfare Association during the early days of the rabies outbreak there. Put together a rudimentary system to help manage the vaccination campaign that BAWA was engaged in. From that, I met many great people in the animal welfare and scientific world, which led me to working on other projects that drove me to form the foundation in 2012. Development has continued since that day on the Wise Monkey portal, which is a web-based application for collecting data, managing that data, and doing some analysis. And also to a certain degree managing processes like vaccination campaigns. It's an open system, meaning that it doesn't just have to work on vaccination campaigns. You can build and use forms to collect any sort of data you like. Now, personally, I've been a software developer for about too many years to really count, but about 30 plus years. And during that time have worked on a number of different commercial systems and have brought a lot of that knowledge to bear in the animal welfare world in terms of knowing how to build systems that are resilient, they're scalable, secure, and will just work. I have a working relationship with a number of ICAM members. I've worked with Elly for many years now, and groups such as I4, Humane Society, and GARC. If you'd like to find out a bit more about WiseMonkey, just visit that web URL at the bottom of the page there. The proposed system consists of three major functional components. I'm going to start in the middle with Survey Form Server. Now, this component doesn't have any user interface, and essentially it's not seen, but it fulfills the very important function of acting as a conductor between the portal and the app. So data is routed from the portal to the app, for example, survey definitions, and then completed surveys are pushed back via the server from the app to the portal. The next major component is the WiseMonkey portal. Now this already exists and has been used for a number of years on a number of different projects to collect data, manage that data, and finally analyze that data. We'll be taking some of the features of the portal and reusing them, for example the form designer, and enhancing them to include other functions such as route design using Google Maps. And finally, we'll use the portal to store data that's coming from the apps via the survey form server and allow analysis on that data and production of charts, for example. The final component is the app itself. Initially, we're looking at developing this as an Android app only. One of the main reasons for this is cost. The majority of existing WiseMonkey portal users who are using another data collection app are Android app users. In fact, only 1 out of about 40 of those users uses an iPhone. So it's just using an iPhone in many environments is just not cost effective. The app itself will be designed to be intuitive, fast. It will work offline when there's no internet connection, and be smart enough to upload data as and when it connects to a 3G network or a wireless network. And now I'm going to briefly touch on the development plan. Because of the nature of this project, the best approach is one that's called an agile development approach. This is an iterative method where we know up front the high-level goals that we're trying to achieve, in terms of functional components, but we don't know yet the detail of each of those components, and we'll discover that detail as we move through the project. Now, Agile breaks development down into sprints, which may be a week or two in length, and on each sprint we'll take a piece of functionality and dive deeply into understanding it and building that piece of technology that will function by the end of that sprint as a standalone piece of code. So, for example, the login screen for the app, or the web services for the server. These will be developed in those sprints, and progress is measured in a backlog, so essentially a spreadsheet with all of our functions listed, and against each of those functions how much effort is left to complete that function, and we can then measure very tangibly the progress that's being made and how much effort is required to complete the project. A side note on this approach is that there will be constant feedback, so after each sprint the function can be demonstrated to the user, and the users can feedback and change requirements as we move along. Obviously not the major functional components will be changed, but detail will be.
So what I'd like to do now is describe what the app will actually look like, so you get a feel for what the user experience will be. So the app would open with this little dashboard space. the first time that you go into the app, it would ask you to log in, probably with an email and password, and those will be provided by the project manager. So remember that this smartphone app is working in conjunction with the website, and it's in that website space that you would set up your street survey project in your role as the project manager. Now, if someone's completely new to this street survey app, it would point you to the ICAM Wise Monkey website to learn more about it and to create an account and start to set up these survey projects. And on that dashboard, it would have then this little sort of profile bit that you can see here with the outline of the person's head and shoulders. You could go into there to change any of your personal info. It would have a little settings icon where you could go in and change the characteristics of the app. And then it would have this little project space. So we can see here we have 2 locations in Nepal, Kathmandu and Pokhara. And then we have, under each of those 2 locations, we have a number of survey routes. So for example, for Kathmandu, we have Zone 2 and Zone 8. Those would be the names of 2 different survey routes. And those can either be routes drawn as a line transect, or they could be an area in which the person's going to do their surveying. So the idea is that you would click on any one of those routes, and then you would be able to see the route on your phone shown in one of these maps, so sort of potentially a sort of classic Google map layout. And so you can check that you've actually opened up the correct one. Now, once you want to actually start the survey, you would click this little Start Survey button down at the bottom there. It would only allow you to start the survey if you were within about, say, 50 metres of the start point. If you were some distance from the start point, it would give you some kind of warning to say you're not close enough and suggest that you move closer to the start of the route before you begin your survey. So once you've actually started the survey, you're going to have some little notifications to say that the survey is active. The app records the date and time, so the observer doesn't have to enter any of these. And the app would show your location on the map. So you'd have a little blue dot showing where you are on the map. So the app would actually allow you to navigate your way along that survey route. And you'd be able to zoom in and out as you do on a normal Google map. Now, whenever you see a sighting of an animal, you would click your sort of sighting icon, and the icons can be selected within the project manager space within Wise Monkey. The default would be something like these little binoculars, but here we've used a little doggy icon, and our sort of default dog survey layout that people can just sort of click to say, yes, I want to take that recommended survey layout, would have the little dog icons ready to go. When you click that little survey sighting icon, it would record the GPS location of the observer at the time that they click that little icon. So you've clicked to say that you've got a sighting. The first thing it asks you is a multi-choice question for the first field name, and in this case that's dog type. And the multiple choices, those 7 different dog types that are displayed here, would be displayed as, and if you wanted to select one, you'd have a single button press. So you wouldn't be clicking dog type and then scrolling down a list. You would just click one of those coloured icons to say what dog type it is. And when you've clicked that, it would highlight to say this is the one that you've clicked, that you've selected. Now, if there's nothing more to do, you just click done, and then you'd go back to the map, back to the navigation, and you can add another sighting, or you could choose to add some detail. So, for example, you've got your dog type selected. You can see which dog type you've selected visible at the top, so we know we're talking about a spayed female. And you could include for that particular dog type as many attributes as you would like. So we have body condition score and skin condition, but you could scroll further down that page to have some more attributes, although I would suggest that maybe more than a couple of pages would end up being too many. So body condition score BCS is the field name here, and then the BCS1, which is body condition score 1 or emaciated, is just one of the multi-choice answers, and you can choose any one of those 5 body condition scores. So again, it's sort of a single tap for each multi-choice answer, and that would highlight that button again. And when you've completed highlighted all those different attributes and scored that dog for the attributes, then you would click done. Now, if you could see just the skin condition of the dog, but perhaps not the body condition score, maybe the dog is lying down, you can see it has a skin problem, then you would just click for a visible skin problem and not select any of the options for the body condition score. So these attributes would not have to be required. And when you're finished, then you would click done. And then it would take you back to your navigation page where you are able to then add additional sightings. And when the sighting is done, you will see that the little icon would then appear on the map, the appropriate icon. We see on here that we've got a yellow dog, a grey dog and a blue dog visible on our route. So we also can see down in the bottom here, in the middle, a list icon. Now if you click that, it will bring up the list of dogs that you have so far recorded, so that those can either be deleted or edited. So you'd scroll down that list to see all the sightings you've recorded so far. Some will have attributes, others may only be a sighting type where you haven't chosen to add any further detail, any further attributes about that dog. So you'd select any one of these, and then you have the option to either delete that sighting. The delete would remove them from the list completely, and so that we would have some kind of warning notification to make sure you definitely wanted to do that before it was carried out. But if you clicked edit, it would then take you back to the dog type. So in this case, it's showing, oh, well, this was a sighting that was recorded as a male dog. And then you can potentially change that dog type, and indeed click to add detail to change any attributes about that dog. And again, click done when that editing is completed, and that again would take you back to the navigation screen to continue with adding new sightings, or indeed going back to the list view if you feel the need to edit any of those sightings further. At any point you would be able to pause the survey, or indeed say that the survey is completed. So the selecting pause kind of freezes the screen with a big play icon in the center, so you know when you can restart. When you've completed a survey, it would show you the information about the survey, so the date, the time that it was started and it was stopped, the total sightings that were recorded on that survey. It would show that one of the observers is the person who owns that application, but you would have the opportunity to add any further observers so that you can keep track of the team of people that were involved if there was more than one person involved, and there'd be an opportunity to add comments as well. We may refine that particular add comments button to inspire people to record particular things such as the weather on that day, and whether the day itself was unusual in any way, whether it was a weekend or a holiday that may have changed in particular human behaviour during the survey. Submit then saves the survey as it is and sends it to the Wise Monkey website when Wi-Fi connection is available. So all of this would have the capability of working offline, and it would then wait until it had internet connection again before it actually sent that survey data back to the website. So submitting the survey would then return you back to your opening dashboard, and would have some kind of notification when the survey data has been successfully sent. So that concludes today's update outlining our plans for the street survey system development. Thank you for listening. I will be providing regular updates at our ICAM meetings, and indeed also over email as and when we reach key milestones. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact either me or John. Thanks very much.